We're good. Check. There you go.
All right. 5:01. Starting our work session. Topics. Do I have to read that first part?
Well, there's nobody from the public here to hear it, but if there was, I would read it.
Okay, well, let's just roll into topics. Events and rolling calendar.
So if you guys want to look over the event calendar in the agenda and talk amongst yourselves on what you see there, and if you have any questions. Two things that I can point out. One is that the weigh-in is this weekend. We have gotten some calls from 4-H. It's a little concerned about the weather on if it's gonna go or not. They were looking for some alternative dates if the weather did change. We are pretty booked for the next 2 months, so don't know what that looks like. Told them maybe we could plan on this day, just sticking with this day, and then if they have to, we can set it up outside. It'll be what it has to be because we're pretty much booked every weekend for the next 2 months, and that might be far out for them to want to wait.
Well, and this could be obviously a question for them, but they can't do 2 different dates because then we'll have 2 different time frames on weights, right? For rate of gain and all of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's just, they could still,
They can do the
it would
math.
just rest days for some of the animals. It wouldn't be that hard to figure out.
I mean, if you're breaking it out to a per day, you can always come out to a per day, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be per day over 40 days, 85 days, or per day over 65 days.
Yeah, I mean, by Saturday, all the roads are gonna be well driven and clear. It shouldn't be an issue.
I did see on Wednesday of next week, there is another significant bump.
Yeah.
That's the weather, you never know. The other is the monster trucks are coming the end of next week, and a reminder that I'm leaving on vacation on Thursday. It sounds like Joel's got plans to come and help out. They've got Ricky with Big River and Caleb Mallon truck helping them with their dirt work excavation and stuff.
They had a really good ad
Yeah.
that I saw out.
Yeah,
They had
It was
a
really good.
short window, so I think they dumped it a lot. I think they're trying to build something too. You know, they want to be the people that do the monster trucks here. I think they want to get it established. And
Yeah.
let people know what to expect. These seem to be a much more professional group. That other group they did in last, it was like their first time. These folks are doing all of it. They're
Yeah.
full blown real group. And the guy that we've been working with is the guy that used to do the ride trucks here. The American Thunder ride truck, that's a fair. The last 2 years, we've had the zombie tractor. But this guy's familiar with our property.
Okay.
You have any questions on events?
Do we know how the Super Saturday went?
I left town here on Saturday or Monday morning bright and early, and I just got back to town. I haven't
Yeah.
talked to anybody about how it went, but I didn't get any calls.
never had a blast there.
That's
I didn't get any calls that they had any problems. Said my daughter was here, but she didn't tell me very much about what she did. But she said, yeah,
okay.
bye.
Perfect. Okay, so rolling calendar then.
So, yeah, I can jump in a couple of things on this. The CMH requested, if we could do that on the agenda. So they said that they're not gonna come today. They didn't want to risk the weather, so they'll come back. But if you guys want to talk about it anyways, we do have some rental requests that are at the same time. And then so I've kind of plugged in here 2 other meeting dates. So one for late February to talk about the budget. If we wanted to do a fair work session also and get on the same page, if we want to do that at the same meeting or if we want to do a separate meeting. And then same thing mid-March. We consider maybe doing some virtual meetings in between every month to try to keep these meetings shorter instead of having such a marathon every once a month, be like a shorter virtual meeting mid-month that we can kind of breeze through some information so it doesn't already at the board meetings, to make decisions without having to spend some time. When and what dates that would work for, what times that would work for.
Okay, do we need a date for that right now for February?
With everybody here, it probably makes sense for us to get that figured out, if we figure out if it's like every other Tuesday we meet. So we have one for this meeting and then 2 weeks later we meet again.
Is there does anyone have dates that work better for them instead of doing on the Tuesday every time, or?
It's run Scan Dan. And it's on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll make it work if everybody can only do Tuesday.
does anyone have any objections to doing a different day than Tuesday, like maybe like Wednesday or Thursday type situation?
Wednesday doesn't work for me. Wednesday, 6 to 9. So, don't work.
And does everyone, if we're doing a virtual meeting, does it need to be in the evening, or are we okay doing maybe a little bit earlier in the afternoon?
Yeah, I can do it earlier, I mean, on Wednesdays.
Was it meant to be virtual or in person?
I think that would be.
My
ideal.
yeah,
Virtual would be, okay, virtual.
just for the
don't
other,
care. I
just
don't
for the
care.
other one, just so that it's just a quicker
I'll sit there and Scan Dance on my phone.
type of meeting. Okay,
Yeah, Tuesdays are fine, sorry.
no, you're fine. I wanna make sure that we're,
I
It's
have
Only
a,
Tuesday.
it's
I have
2
a new
days.
job, so I'm not sure what my schedule is yet till tomorrow.
Oh,
I left Walgreens.
Okay. Well, let's tentatively maybe say the Tuesday, do we want to do earlier? Do we want to keep it same time so that there's kind of uniform to it? What's everyone's?
what works for you, Kyle? Is there
So
any restrictions?
this month particularly, that 18th would be the third Tuesday of the month, and that's the day I'll be traveling home. I don't know if I can securely commit to having that to be here for that day on that particular Tuesday. So for this one, if we could do it on the Wednesday or do it the last, that's so far out.
I can do Wednesdays before I have to be at the community college by 6-ish. So if it's earlier, it's not evenings, I can do Wednesdays. Or pretty much most days I can work.
Could do the 19th at 4:30. For this February one.
Okay, so February 19th at 4:30, and that is a virtual meeting. Can we make sure that when we send it out virtually that we will have access to be able to talk and
Yeah.
do all of that?
That
However,
does all
it's
the analysts,
awesome, thank you.
which, as a matter of fact, let me see here. Attendees. Public. Analysts, Gail, Gail's here for later on, we've got the application in on an action item.
Okay, so that should be good for that then. We can,
Yeah, and I will plan on having, a draft of the budget ready for that, for you guys to look at. We have to have that submitted to the county finance department. It's in this budget calendar
okay,
on the 19th. Oh, perfect. We'll send it to them after the meeting.
So can you send that to us ahead of time?
Yeah,
And being clear what you're gonna be looking for from the committee or the board to provide during that discussion.
yeah. A lot of what will get built is gonna be based off of your past years, but if there's particular special things that you guys would like to consider in the budget, that's where I'll need information to move that around, but we can kind of shuffle some of that stuff around as we're going there. The big one would be like, if there's particular special events that you want to plan on doing. This year we had budgeted to do the rodeo. We had budgeted to do, indoor concert that I don't think we're gonna, we were talking about the spring event. I mean, I don't know if it's a concert or something else. Having this monster truck event just kind of helps us. It seems like we're having a public event, even though we're not necessarily producing it. But I think the other one is we'd really love to do these mud drags or something like that, type of event, but go through the planning stuff.
Okay, so going off of the events and rolling calendar, do we need to jump to the back page of that to talk about committee meeting schedules? Do we want to do that right now, or are we doing that on the kind of off basis after?
If you have particular meetings that we can set next dates, right now, we currently don't have any additional meetings set for the committees.
When are you on vacation?
I'm leaving next Thursday.
Okay. And
Bill says he's running 10 minutes late, so he's be here in a second.
okay,
And Bruce was meant to be remote, sending the link.
is that something I was supposed to do roll call beforehand, or is that? I don't know. I know that Kristen, you're probably writing it down, who's here and who's not, but
Hey,
okay.
So I think what we do is typically during the regular meeting. We do a
Okay.
roll call. We don't necessarily have to have a forum to have a work session.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Okay, so
I thought just adding this extra page would be something helpful for us to track. And one of the things I thought about after I printed it and sent it to you guys was putting the names into the document.
yeah. Okay, do we want to just kind of go? Do we want to go for dates right now on that, or do you want to just send out an email to the committees to try to figure that out?
If we can land.
Does
on some
everyone
dates,
feel like they know dates that they can? That's my only issue is like right now I didn't come prepared for that thought process and I don't feel super confident in giving you solid dates that I could make happen. That's my only concern.
What if we say one person from each of the committees is responsible for getting the dates sorted out? Is that?
Yeah,
work?
that's fine.
Then I'm trying to wrangle down,
Yep.
7 different meetings at one particular time.
And you're out from what dates?
Is it 10th or the 13th through the 18th?
Okay, I'm on concert, I'm on non-music entertainment. With, I know Bruce and I are on that one, and Joel, right?
Yep.
And I can't remember this, I don't remember what.
I
Volunteer,
can't
maybe?
even remember, to be
I'm
honest.
still looking at.
I'm sorry.
I actually, I have it on my spreadsheet.
I have it.
Hold on,
I
I
have
think
it
I
right
have
here.
it on my spreadsheet. Okay. Vendor acquisitions is Joel, John, and I guess that's me too. I knew there was another one I was on. Sponsorships was Bruce, John, and Mallory.
Yeah, and we partnered that up with the marketing,
Oh, okay, so it's combined. Okay.
the same people. Well, Mallory wasn't on the
Oh, okay.
marketing, but she was
Yeah.
on the sponsorship.
Security and parking was Elise and Matt.
Boom, parking.
Yeah, and then, so I talked about this last week, to consider combining those two. The
Oh.
security and the parking, because that was Matt and you were on the one and Elise and Matt were on the other one. It's like, why don't we just mesh these?
Yeah.
And they really overlap a lot. The security and the parking overlap a ton. If you're talking about where the gates are and where the security is. What's that?
I said, I'm on 4. How did that happen? Volunteers, is myself and John. And then non-music is, Bruce, Joel, and myself. So I'm happy to take, the coordination of, scheduling the meetings for the ones that I'm involved in, which is, I remember, but that's okay. Non-music and volunteer. And so the ones I'm not on is sponsorship, which is Bruce, John, and Mallory. That's one. So can we get who's gonna take ownership of coordinating meetings for that group?
Yeah, I will go ahead and do that one.
Okay. How do we do that? And then advertising and marketing is either
Then they
Bruce.
can, they're. gonna-
Yeah, that's combined, so that
Oh,
was,
it's all these guys.
yes, yeah.
Marketing, oh, got it, all right, so. Valerie, yeah. And then security and parking, Elise or Matt and Joel, right?
So how many can we have per committee before it's
I can do it.
too many? We can only have 3.
I mean, you can have more, but then it's gotta be a
Public, right?
Elise, are you good with taking that
We're
on?
gonna coordinate
yeah.
that,
Thank you.
and to me, yeah, and then all the other, so the 4 gonna coordinate with, because it's just probably easier since I'm be on 4, was concert vendor, volunteer, and entertainment coordinate. Scheduling those.
Can I have an open
So-
class?
I work on that because Katrina's really key to that.
I was gonna say, I don't have her contact. Can you
I'll-
send it
I'll
to me?
Contact her, yes.
Okay.
I know I had talked to her in the past about connecting in January, but January passed.
I know.
That was on me, but she
Okay.
was ready. I did talk to her briefly, like right at the beginning of the month. Just,
Can you introduce us via email? Is that easier?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I can just take it on from there.
great,
I like doing it here, it's much quieter.
on this side
It's
over
big
here,
difference, yeah.
yeah, let's give that a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw this out there and you can tell me how you feel on it. For entertainment, I'm literally only on sponsorship and marketing. Do you want me to jump on that one for you since you have so many other ones and I can take that one?
Sure, if you want, yeah.
Okay,
That's the non-concert entertainment.
yeah.
Are you gonna be, are you,
Oh,
Are you
so
okay with-
I'll coordinate that one, yeah.
I don't wanna be the coordinator. The thing is, I make my own schedule, so whatever other people can do,
Yeah.
I can do.
Yeah.
I can make work.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then Matt, for the concert, are you chatting with Brittany at all
I
or?
haven't, no.
Okay.
So Brittany was here last Tuesday for OSET and she popped into the office and I talked to her for a while. She's definitely wants to participate. I told her I would let her know when we have the next meeting scheduled. Basically, like, put me in, just tell me what I need to do.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good to keep her kind of in the loop on that if we can.
Can you fill me in on when all this?
Brittany was on the fair board.
Oh, previous, oh, you mentioned her before, okay,
Yeah.
yep,
That was really kind of her piece, like, really took the lead on that particular part of it, at least on the coordination planning type thing, like dealing with the band and the talent agent, and then Matt kind of takes the lead on rallying the troops on
Nice.
getting the tent set up and the fencing up and everything.
on the entertainment, Kyle, can you forward the notes to Mallory from our previous discussions on that and the action items?
Yes.
Most of them are Kyle's, anyways.
Yeah. A lot of these other things are really important things to get on the same page with when we have our fair planning meeting, but. The majority of what we should be talking about as far as a group is that entertainment, because that's really what people see as the fair is that. Those other things that are happening. So that one will still have a lot of input from the full board, especially if we all get together and start hashing them out. I have a huge stack of leads on things, either entertainers from trade shows or promoter books that have a whole list of acts, and then just emails that we get all the time. People are constantly.
I sent you that axe throwing thing too today, just as kind of like a keep in my head type of situation, so.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I couldn't open it because I wasn't. For some reason, it wouldn't let me open it, but
Okay, it was more so for my like mentality.
the axe throwing company in North Plains.
Okay,
And so I think do we need to clarify the expectations that there's going to be, at least ideally for today, but also for every future meeting? Is that the committees each have an update on what they've accomplished and what are their next steps and any issues they have? Is that what you guys normally did during your sessions? So you keep everybody in the loop?
yeah, I think that's what we were kind of talking about putting on here too, is being able to have, like, when we go into our actual meeting, we will have the breakdown of each one for our board member reports. So the person that's taking responsibility, I guess, for each committee will need to, I would say, create or get a meeting on the calendar before the end of month. And then be able to have an update for the next meeting. Good.
I met with Elise at the end of last week and, we talked security quite a bit. That one was actually really, it like kind of got my juices going on thinking about all the things, cause there's so many intertwined things that are connected with that. And it's like the schedule, what happens on Monday, what happens on Tuesday, cause all that stuff's affecting. So it was like, I'm excited to shift gears and get into deep planning mode.
Yeah.
For the fair, but at the same time too, like, knowing the work that we've done over the last 2 years. I feel like we've kind of got a better roadmap for us to
Oh, yeah.
move forward, and we're not like starting from scratch on all of this stuff.
Mhm.
So while we haven't really booked a lot of stuff yet, it still feels like we are fine, or I wouldn't say we're necessarily ahead. We do have the concert pretty well down the road, but we've got to get some of the grounds entertainment and kind of keystone pieces of our entertainment piece booked.
Yeah,
Tough because we don't know what we can use for ground. You
Yeah.
know, we're kind of confined.
With
to
the,
little
with
teeny
the land use
spaces.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
okay, so events and rolling calendar, we're past that, right? We're good?
Sure.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Budget training, is that for our next?
yeah, that's the next one. I can start off with, in the packet, you have the, this is basically the county's budget training that they provided us. I more gave these first two parts of this to you guys so that you understand the full process, so. We make a recommendation we make our request to the county. They're not really gonna turn us down unless if we have a balanced budget, because you guys have exclusive rights to, manage this fund. But it is a component of the county's budget, and so it has to go through all of their budget approval process. It goes before the county budget committee. And then, eventually gets adopted by the county board. So there's all of the deadlines on here that have to get hit on the budget calendar. And then if you're digging through this, budget policies things, we are in the section that's non-general fund budgets. They have a lot of talk in here about new programs and new staffing and all that, doesn't quite necessarily apply to us. We're not tied into their general fund where they're having to consider which department that they can squeeze new programs or whatever in, but across the board, the rest of the county is on it. They're on our reduction. They're not even on a status quo. They're looking for how they can help the departments. What they're trying to avoid is trying to get to mandatory staff. That's furloughs and stuff like that. Apparently 15, 20 years ago or so, something like that, they had to do that. They basically cut a bunch of people's work schedules down from 40 hours to 37.5 hours. That's why when you look at the pay schedule, you have all of these positions that are still on this 37.5 hours. Like, what the heck is that about? It's because they needed to cut money.
So were you saying that if we look through this budget policy item number 2, which is the budget supported by general fund, is something we can kind of ignore, is what you're saying?
Right, we're in the
Okay.
non-general fund, so
Okay.
section 3.
Okay.
Kind of highlighted on the budget calendar. We're into February right now, so budget module opened yesterday. The first thing we have to do is project year ends. So we know what our beginning fund balance will be for our next year. So how much of our current budget did we actually receive those revenues, and how much of the money that we plan to spend, we actually spend? Then we come up with basically our leftover. Then we put that at the top of the next budget. So we can't even really begin building the next budget until we know what that beginning fund balance will be. That being said, we can start a draft figuring out. We have a pretty good idea of what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be less. Our reserve balance has actually been growing. But we know now we have projects that we need to do, so it's gonna be expected that our reserves are gonna start growing some. Like this first project is gonna take a little bit. Once we move on to phase 2, the roof it'll drop down a little bit. So yeah, budget module opens. Those projections are due on the 19th, so that's what's due on the 19th. So we actually do have more time to set it. 19th, they also want to know capital outlay, so this is the 5-year plan, this is those are the big projects. That are not in just kind of the every year operating, but like the special improvement that happens just once of them is done. And then the 28th is when the actual budget line item request is due, and I'll go through the line items here.
So what if, for the general fund outlay or whatever?
Yeah.
So I know that we're hoping to be able to do stuff in the lower area. If we don't submit something for that now, are they gonna tell us we can't till next year then?
And so once we get, it's so we're not in the general fund, actually, we won't be tied to that, but we will want to try to anticipate the next 5 years and, we'll get through this calendar and then we'll pull up the budget and I'll show you, what we'll have to work on. They're looking for a 5-year plan, they want you to try to be able to forecast out 5 years and see where the fund's going to be tracking, but you guys have exclusive management rights of the facility. If you decided that you wanted to do something different than what was in your plan, there's a way to do it, but. Depending on how it's budgeted for, like, if you don't budget it into our capital project list for next year. That doesn't mean that it can't be done, but it will mean that there could potentially have to be a separate budget hearing. In order to make that change later on. I can go into that a little more detail here. So. That's what the budget committee does. When you approve the budget at the first thing, you're doing that public hearing. So if you want to deviate from that, you have to have a separate public hearing. And make access to that. Money. So yeah, end of the month it's due, the beginning of March. Each department head reviews the budget with the county manager. And they're just going through and making sure they're on the same page with what we're asking for. Before it goes before the budget committee and the county commission. Then looks like starting April 30th, it will begin with the county budget committee meetings. And depending on how long it takes for them to go through the whole thing, the entire budget is like 700 pages. So it just depends on how fast they move through those meetings on how many budget they end up having. And then, ideally, it's all approved before July 1st, so that we can start next year. We'll be on there. So as connected to that, inside of your books, I provided you the copy of this already in your binders. In your black binders. And this is essentially our budget. This is what it ends up looking like. This is what goes to the. This is what goes to the budget committee.
Number 5.
What's that?
5.
It's number 5. Yeah, the mission statement and the department overview pretty much stays the same every year. We pretty much have the same goal and the same mission every year. As we're going through the strategic plan, it's maybe something that we want to take a harder look at and update, but it's one of the big opportunities that we have to tell our story, because everybody that wants to look at the budget, this is what they're gonna see. If somebody from the public wants to see the fairgrounds budget, and they want to do a public records request, or they just want to, they don't even have to, they just go to the county finance page and it's posted. This is what they're gonna find first. So it's our first shot at telling their story. Trying to tell them our accomplishments for the last year and then some highlights for the next year. This year, yeah, we got that COVID relief money that we received from business Oregon legislature last year. So we were anticipating receiving that, and then the remainder of this grant that we've got to finish this roof. Those are two big revenue highlights we had this current year. Yeah, talking about budgeting the strategic plan, which we're working towards. And that will lay the roadmap for the future of what our budget looks like that year. And so from there, you start rolling into the actual line items with the funding sources. So that would be the revenue and then the expenditures. Start into expenditures. So in your packet, I made a sheet, 2 sheets, one that says revenue line definitions and expense line definitions, just to try to give you guys a quick little description of what each one of those particular lines means. I don't know if you want to necessarily go through each one of these line by line, or if you want me to pick out the ones that I think are kind of the bigger. Or critical ones, a lot of them are really self-explanatory.
We had talked at one point in time about potentially combining or consolidating some so that it would modify what the budget looks like this coming year.
Yes, so here's some examples, looking in the funding side. We'll roll down and we've got tickets, gate fees. It's so right now, like when we did the rodeo, the tickets and gate fees went into that fund, but the revenues from the fair also go into there. So now when you're looking at this line, you're saying, well, how much money did we make off of the fair versus how much money did we make off of our other events that we're promoting? And you have to basically run a special report to get that information. Or if we just had two separate lines and said, this is the fair ticket gates, this is our other general entertainment gates. Yeah, for the other ones, if we did multiple events, we'd have to drill into that a little bit more, but at least we'd see the fair separately, which is kind of our meat and potatoes. There's some other ones, the fair expenses and then fair entertainment. But really, we have the concert also. It's like the concert almost needs to have its own separate piece that we can make it that better. Because right now, we're kind of dipping into the two buckets to make the concert happen and to make the other entertainment happen. And then it just doesn't really fit in the lines that we have. So it's really, the bottom line would all end up being the same, but it's just kind of rewording and reclassifying where some of those revenues.
I know there was we had that short conversation about camping fees, and there wasn't any clarity as to whether or not they were camping related to events or just random camping.
Exactly, yeah.
But of course, this is really additional work on your team side to make sure you differentiate those.
It is, and we do have one particular line right now that we track the lodging tax in separately, so when they pay us, their $38, $35 goes to the camping and $3 goes into the other revenue. So it goes in and it goes out, but so looking at this camping fees now, I think it might all be everything, including the events that we event camping. But prior years, before we were here, and like, they have for consistency moving forward, if it's an event camping versus if it's just regular, an event camping, we get a check for $6,000 versus just individuals spending into the thing. So it would be good to know what if these are events, is it going into event rentals or facility rentals, or is it going into camping? I think Chris and I talked, you said for the most part, it just goes into the camping, but some clarity on. We're just wording the line different could help us, so that we're not, it could be when we want to look at it once every 6 or 8 months.
So when we sit down and go over that, are you going to come to the table with what you think would be best that we could
Yeah.
adopt and
They will,
say that,
I'll
or
probably have a full working draft for you guys, and then we'll go through it line by line
Yeah.
by line.
but will you, and you'll add those other lines that you're
Yeah.
thinking would be easier?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's. So just rolling through the funding, the beginning fund balance, so that's the money left over after the end of the last year. So, by the time we had our beginning fund balance this year, all of our revenues we expected, all of our expenses we had, contingency for the money that we're not gonna spend, and that bottom dollar that's left at the end, like this last particular year, it ended up being. Flipping my pages out of order. Looks like I need a calculator in order to come up with it, because it doesn't plug it out at once. So it would have been our contingency, the 630. So any of the dollars that's not allocated to a particular line goes into our contingency. So basically our ending fund balance was 630,000. But you can see our beginning fund balance for the beginning of the year was like 800,000. So we don't necessarily spend all the money we plan. We're conservative on our revenues. So we're estimating lower than what we think we're actually gonna get by margin, and then for our expenses, we're budgeting more than what we're gonna spend. But then knowing that if there's an emergency or something critical happens, we need to have access to funding to
Yeah.
fix it. Like if the fridge went out, we now need to make a $30,000 repair to fix the water. Yeah, let's see. What other ones that are big to point out? Property taxes. This current year, we're expecting 530,000 in property taxes. That's our tax levy. And so if we were to lose our tax levy, we would be looking to replace $550,000. Timber revenue, we're expecting $87,000 in timber revenue. We can plan over the next couple of years to expect to see that reduced by 30 to 40%. So that number is gonna end up dropping quite a bit. The Business Oregon State Lottery Fund, we had 302,220. So every year we get $55,000 from them. That's just an even distribution that we get from lottery funds every year. This number is 302 because this is the 277 grant is included into that. They've already given us $55,000 from the 277 grant. So. It goes up. Well, then we were expecting that 80K and the COVID relief money. When I was at Salem this week for the legislative, and Fair College stuff, the big bill that we're asking for, that the Fairs Association is pushing for, is to increase that percentage that we get from the lottery every year. So right now we're getting like 55,000, 53,000. If this bill passes like we're hoping it will, it would be 250,000 for each fair instead of 50,000. Hopefully that passes. It seems like there was a lot of support for it. And they actually have that funding. The governor has that funding already in her draft budget. So it's promising that something's gonna happen. Well, it might not be the full 250 that we're looking for. It seems like it should go up from the 53 that
Is that distributed equally or is it by population?
it's equally, so all of the fairs have gone together and said, like, we think everything that's fair is.
Equal? Oh, nice.
It's been probably 30 years since this has been the case. And they've tried to keep that same thing with all of the bills that have come through that have benefited the fairs. So the 277,000 that we got, that's the same thing. They took the 10 million and they divided it, so fairs. Everybody got that be doing now. They have had some bills in the past that wasn't the case, and it didn't really sit well with the Fairs Association members, because it's like, we're all in here fighting for this together, and say one particular fair gets more benefit, that's brings a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I'm trying to think of other big revenues. We expect 90,000 in concert revenue. I think we were more like 40 or 50,000 the last 2 years. That was based off of our general admission ticket sales. That's not our concert sponsorship, the VIP sponsorship.
And if you're, so it's doubling this year is what your anticipated revenue?
No, we've not received the revenues that we've anticipated in the last 2 years.
Okay.
So we were expecting 90 and we got.
Oh, okay, so you're being more realistic. Got it.
Well, I haven't built it yet, so that's the number.
You will.
we're on. Yes, this year a little bit better, but definitely probably drop that this year. See. What it's happening. Sponsorships, fair sponsorships, we haven't really had much in non-concert sponsorships come in the past several years, $2,700. I think this last year we did like 10, which isn't reflected in this yet because this was at the beginning of the budget year, so it's not really up to date. This is what it's about the budget. So the more we can develop the fair sponsorship program, we can hopefully get more sponsorships. Moving forward.
I have a question on just for the general order of this, for instance, the funding sources, it's not alphabetical, is it a code based?
It is a code base
And-
and it's not reflected on this particular sheet, but the budget reports that you get.
Yeah, I'm
I
assuming.
think at the end of at each month, they show the fund, actual fund. items.
Mhm. I was curious though, when we're talking about it, it might be easier if it was grouped by, or they are named or some sort of indication. It's
Yeah.
like, this is fair, this is what we're talking about from a fair perspective.
Yeah,
I think when we meet again, on the 19th, that might be helpful for us to just talk through it that way. Would that work, or is that a lot of extra?
I can see what I can do as far as making a change, but when it comes down to what actually gets. submitted,
Absolutely.
This is the
Oh,
format
sure.
that the
Yep,
budget's
I
actually.
understand.
And it's all built into the budget.
Okay, well, then for this year, since we have such a quick turnaround, doesn't make sense to change that, but
But what I may be able to do is something more like what you get in the report, because I can export that. I should be able to export it into a spreadsheet, and look at it in a different way. And it will still follow the same, the numbers are all there. Yeah, so that's the revenue side, the expense side. It's broken up into 3 sections. You've got your personnel services, so that's basically the staffing piece. Everything that it takes to staff us, including the temporary seasonal help with retire, insurance. Pennies, all that. And then it's broken down into materials and services, and those are kind of the reoccurring operating expenses every year. That's where the fair money is. We're putting the fair on, the money we're putting in doing the other events. And then you get down to the bottom and that's the capital outlay. So those are the improvements, typically over $5,000. And they have a value, it's a one-time thing, they get depreciated. All of those are budgeted for in this lower section. Yeah.
So Bruce texted, he's waiting to be let in. Possible?
That's not what I did.
is he possibly in the 6 o'clock meeting?
He's
It's the same length.
invite a little bit before 5, clocked him out, and then he's trying to get back in. I will, I don't know.
No, he's in Arizona. If he goes to the link on the agenda, it should get him here.
Directly, he doesn't.
And
need
then
to
I
be
can
let in.
promote him as a panelist.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, he's working on doing that. Do we have anything else on the budget stuff?
Not unless you guys have any questions, but if any of you want to talk about it, in more detail, then separately, I'm happy to talk about it individually. There's a lot to the budget, but it's also not a very complicated budget.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to jump to festival fees? Not festival fees.
Yeah, so this is something to talk about, how we want to approach the issue with the festivals. They're wondering what their fees are gonna be for these next year's events. And when it comes down to it, they haven't had rate increases in a long, long time, like probably closer to 10 years. And it's kind of this can of worms on how do we want to deal with these festivals forward. And finding out this rate structure, and it goes for our entire rate. They're at the point where they need to figure out if they're getting grant money. If they're paying for, you get to just the face value, we say this building is 1,000 and the kitchen's 400 and the arena's 2,000. The horse stall is, this much per stall, and outdoor arena is this much per day. It's like double what they're paying now, and so that's a massive increase. Figuring out how we want to approach them to work on trying to correct these so that we have some sense. system in place. before. There should be some, continuing incremental percentage rates based off of like inflation or price index or something like that.
So in pricing everything out for using basically the entire facility, it's like $4,700 for everything per day.
And they're 10 days. That they're here on property. Yeah.
And so Kyle and MJ and I had a conversation, we talked about, they both have, both as in the Scandinavian Fest and Crab Fest, both have set amounts that they've paid for years and years and years. Obviously we can't jump their prices times 5 and make it work for the both of us. That's not a good look. And so I don't know if I'm just like kind of jumping the gun here, Kyle, or not. You can stop me if you want to, but I think we talked about increasing what they have paid in the past by the 10% or something. And that would, I think, I don't know, do you still have the numbers of what we talked
I
about
don't
previously?
have those. I don't have my notes from what we met the other day.
So I think what we talked about was Crab Fest was paying 22,000 or something like that. Is that correct?
22, 21, can't remember the.
Okay. So it would jump them up to like 25,000 or whatever. So it
10% increase every year until they're where they should.
kind of where they should be.
Well, I think what we also talked about is that it's part of our strategic planning to figure out what it's gonna be next year. It was more like giving them a heads up, it's increasing at least this. So that's something that we want to talk about too during our strategic planning working session. So next year we're a little bit more locked in, right?
Yeah, and I think just being able to have kind of an open communication and understanding that, we can't keep the price the same as the last 10 years. So being able to have that, it's not a big jump, but it's a big enough jump to mean something, I feel like. So,
It really pulls the bigger under. That there's all these other events, festivals and things that we could potentially be marketing, recruiting. But without having this clear understanding of how our current festivals are being priced, like we don't know why the price is what it is. So it makes it really challenging to say, justify an increase, and you don't even really have it justified on why it's what it is. Same thing goes to like adding a new festival. It's like, how do I recruit a new festival and have a conversation with them to get them in the door? If we don't have a clear system like this. The 2 years I've been here, I haven't seen anything yet, and I've asked the question, if there are people that have been involved with these programs, and nobody seems to have a clear understanding of that. We can go back and see, this is what they paid for the last 20 years, and they paid each year. This is and say exactly this is the breakdown of what that is. While our other rates have gone up quite a bit, those ones happen. So I think it's definitely just revealing that during our strategic plan and having that operational piece is really clear thing that to be thinking about it. And even if it's not something that we will let hold up our entire strategic plan, we are working on it somewhat in that plan. And then identifying it as a specific item that needs to be addressed with a deadline. For 2025, 2026, we're going to address the fee schedule. Yeah, and that's going to be done within 18 months or something.
Yeah, I think we did talk though, making sure that they understand it's going up 10% and that next year we anticipate having more comprehensive plan in place. Give them that early warning. It's not 10%, definitely every year.
right, yeah, it's just for now, and then it kind of figure out where we're going from there. And really, like, I think having a conversation with them, knowing that, or allowing them to know that really, if we were to charge what it is, it's $4,700 a day, that's $47,000 for 10 days.
Yeah.
Even if we did a 10% discount, if you have 5 or more days, you're still looking at like, that's $4,700 off that. We're charging half of what we could charge. Now, granted, it's a big thing for our community. It brings in dollars to other places in our community too. And so we want to, I think, respect that, but I think 10% is like a happy, like soft number to like
Oh, yeah.
say, hey, you know, but also have that conversation, like, if you know, this is the big picture, so.
And what you're assuming is that the costs are gonna continue to stay at the same amount for the next 10 years, and they're not. Because they're gonna increase in price, because we have inflation, and they wanna add maybe another person to the fairgrounds, help the fairgrounds.
Oh, yeah, no, nobody's saying that
Also
we're only gonna add
too.
10% and then stop. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta-
just this year,
we're gonna-
because there is no
We're
plan
adding
in
10% this year and then seeing where we need to go from there.
We just need
Yeah.
to dial in exactly what it costs us, so we really have a good, you know, a good, solid answer.
And Kyle, is this on the agenda for our 6 o'clock to make sure we vote there and make a decision?
We can add it. It's not, but we can add it.
Okay, so do we need to go any further into the fees piece of it?
I don't think so, but I think there's definitely just a conversation that needs to be expanded on. One of the things that I would mention, I brought this up with the other fair managers this week, because there was a room full of fair managers in the meetings I was in the last 2 days, and this isn't unique. There's a lot of places that have had this same problem, and what they've done is they've figured out, you know, some kind of cost escalation where they're, you know, over so many years, they're building into it. But they said also make sure that you're adding in your your inflation every year into that schedule as well, because if you're just like, I gotta get to this number to make it even to today, and it takes you 5 years to get there, you're right back where it started at.
Yeah.
You don't do that. Another one that we talked about, and I think we mentioned this too when we were breaking from this meeting, was, you know, we want to be able to help see new events and realizing that a brand new event's not gonna be able to necessarily pay full market value,
Yeah.
but the plan isn't that you always get this discounted fees or indefinite. It's that, you know, we're gonna work with you guys for the first 1, 2, 3 years or something like that, but once you get going, like, your event needs to either stand on its own, or maybe you don't have the event to be where it's not a viable thing.
Yeah, and I
I'm
think,
trying to help get stuff established, because we do want to see.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, like what we did with the Hard Heroes that we were having, or however you say that.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, the only reason they can do it is if they get the profit off their alcohol.
Yeah.
And, you know, we kind of agreed to continue to let them do that until that builds up into something, and then most likely we'll be taking that over.
Yeah.
So we can control it better, so it's gotta be flexible with the community, that,
Yep.
like I said, to get things off the ground.
Yeah.
Important.
okay, so if we don't have any more on that, we can go to the coordination for auction committee. I did talk to Jack this past week. He called me and I just told him, you know, I had planned on reaching out to you a little bit, but I knew you were still kind of trying to get through some stuff, and so I'd put it off. He said he was feeling much better and that he'd be happy to take the call, and so I have some stuff I have to talk to him about just via the books and all of that, and checks clearing and all of that. So hopefully we can maybe figure out what we want to have mutual from them, like what our ask is, I guess. And then between Matt and I, we can get somewhere with that maybe, so.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we get to a common ground, common understanding, so that we can start partnering and working more as a team on the event. Right now, it seems like we're in the dark, and we're just kind of giving them carte blanche to do what they do, and then we're trying to support them the best that we can without really knowing all the details. I think probably the main priority, which is bringing this, you know, whole conversation forward, is there's things that we need to know for the fair, the plan. We need to know when the animals are gonna be loaded out. We need to know details about their schedule for the items that they're going to be. We've got to have that information, because we can't plan very well without it, but most specifically is the loading out of the animals is an important one. Formalizing the insurance requirement for them, I think, is important. They've provided insurance the last 2 years, but it's just, we told them that you can provide it. It's not like you will provide this much insurance.
I have a quick question in regards to the first little bit of conversation that we had with the weigh-in and the weather. Was it 4-H or was it the auction committee that was reaching out?
So all of the communication has mostly been from Jack to Julie, and then Julie. Because Jack calls Julie.
For weigh-in.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, so, okay.
But he doesn't really want to be the middleman. I know, I try to attempt to go, but I don't get responses to my phone.
So was it Jack that had concern then, is my guess what I'm
No.
trying to get at?
No, as far as,
The weather,
so I think it's various people on that are involved with it, they want to know what they can do to have a better system out there to protect the weather. I haven't heard from Jack on it. I don't know if that's speaking for the community or speaking for the who particularly, but
okay, so I
they
guess,
offered to help set up and do more.
okay, so was I guess I'm missing something, I'm sorry, was the conversation. The concern about the weather being able to make it happen, or people,
Circling back, you're talking
Sorry.
about for this way in, not for.
correct,
Okay.
yes.
They're concerned that we're not gonna be able to get.
To get here, so was that like Jack, or was it?
That was Julie. I don't know if that was from Jack.
Okay,
So I talked to Jack today
Okay.
at Costco a little bit.
Okay.
He just concerned that people won't be able to get, he wants it to be successful for the kids.
yes, for
And so,
sure,
they're gonna try to extend it an hour,
okay,
but I don't think it's gonna be necessary. I mean, it's gonna warm up and be in the mid-40s
yeah,
all week until next week. And so
Okay.
we shouldn't have any problem with travel or anything like that.
yeah,
And the people from Jewel don't have any, I've talked to a couple of them and they've been traveling back.
yeah,
and forth
I mean,
all
they're
week.
comfortable
used
with
to
it anyways, yeah.
So,
I guess my only thing is making sure that, you know, if there are those concerns, that. It's like everyone is a part of it type
Yeah.
of situation, like if, you know, if it wasn't Jack, if it was 4-H, 4-H was telling us that. You know, we don't know how we feel about this, but really the auction committee's like, oh, well, it shouldn't be any big deal. I guess that's kind of my like thought process on making sure we're all on the same
Getting
page.
back to the main point of that, this isn't a 4-H event, this is an auction. Event,
Right.
Right, I mean, there's a component of it because the kids need to know the weights of their animals, their projects, but. The weigh-ins for the auction.
Yeah. Okay. So that sounds good.
You know, I kind of just was, as I was writing this memo, just kind of some of the ideas, some of the things that I think. You know, or stuff that we would want to have a conversation with about and try to kind of come up with an agreement that we know, like, this is what the fairgrounds thing is, this is the equipment that belongs to. The fairgrounds is for the auction, this is the equipment that's belonged by is owned by the auction. You know, the insurance is a big one, schedules, incidences. Yeah, just kind of getting on the same page.
This might be a far reach, but what if? Because I know you have good rapport, obviously, right? So, yes, I'm trying here. So what if we reached out and tried to have like a liaison person type of situation? Like, what if us three were those people to be able to work with?
we gotta remember this, so March is my last meeting. So I won't be part of the fair board.
I mean, you don't have to be part of the fair board to help with.
Oh, no, I can still.
Committee.
Wrangle that,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like being able to be the kind of like that center stone of like
Yeah.
communication. Where we can have good dialogue and feel good, where, you know. Feelings don't. Be an issue,
Yeah.
or I'm really trying like to be like. Cause I have no issues like having conversations. I feel really totally fine about it. And I know some people probably don't necessarily know where we're coming from with all of this, but I think it's a very, very important relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I very much respect the relationship. And so I want to do my very best to make sure that it's a good thing all around.
That's for.
There is,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Cassie Russell is
Yeah.
the other.
I talked to her the other
she's
day.
The other big deal.
So it might be just like a separate, not even committee, but like just a
Have some.
visit from people that we can. Here's some further. Talk to. I don't know, that's just my thought process.
Yeah.
So,
You know, and I think that we have common goals. That's the big thing. We definitely have a common goal. It's just getting the order in black and white so that we can. Organize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be ideal to have somebody from the fair board to be like a liaison, somebody that goes to all of their meetings. You know, getting reports from the auction committee throughout the year. I don't know if it needs to be monthly, but we can quarterly, they just kind of give us monthly.
Well, maybe what we can do to move forward with that is maybe us three can get together. Cause we can have three without a thing, right? An issue. I mean, I know you're done after this, and it doesn't matter, but, would you guys? Would you guys be willing to do that with me and maybe we can talk to them and just kind of like. Okay, it just, I feel like then we kind of have like a good, I don't know.
Yeah.
Feel for it. And, okay, so we'll work on that after the fact and figure that all out, so.
Say, the most important thing right now is just setting the expectations at the end. It's gonna stay there.
Yeah, working together and make that happen. Okay, so we'll move forward from that. It's already 6:01, so concert VIP, do you want me to just really quickly go over what my thoughts were on that?
Yeah, I mean, we can run over a hair here. This should only take us a couple of minutes to get through.
Okay, so,
I think, like I kind of mentioned when we met. The other Monday, we're talking about a minor change. We should be able to sort that out pretty quickly. If you guys want to do a major change, then if that's something we want to get in future years. We have some minor changes. Let's figure that out so that we can get this.
okay, so I have a suggestion and this comes from, well, not I. The place that I work for is a big sponsor. I will say that we sponsor lots of different events and I'm sure other people have seen lots of different events sponsored. And you do not see a sponsorship where you get a ticket for blah, 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 right? You get a ticket for everything you do. I feel like maybe 75 VIP tickets is a little high for $7,500 return. What we're doing is we're filling the VIP with $100 tickets essentially. I think we've that's been a thing that we've always done, but I think maybe time to change it. I would suggest us maybe looking at doing 50 tickets to start with, for VIP for, the $7,500, 30 for the 5,000, 10 for the 2,500 and 4 for the $1,000. I think that maybe doing it this way as well, we could open up. We have a lot of people always asking to buy VIP tickets. I think it'd be really cool to maybe throw the option out there to sell maybe 15, 20 VIP tickets to the general public who would want to do that, and sell those for like $150. So that's my thought process on it. I don't know how everyone else feels about it. But I think sponsorship is a sponsorship. It's not buying $100 ticket every time, so.
And this one is not also on our board, our regular session agenda, but it probably needs to be for a decision. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, we can. Add that item as well and look at both.
So that's all I got on that. I don't know if anyone wants to throw anything else out there, but
I like that idea.
okay.
What number did you propose for the second tier, not the 1,000 sponsor?
Just move them up.
The 2,500. I had 10.
Okay,
So I had 4 for 1,000, and I should probably do the math to see where they kind of lie in that range of things, but I had 4 for 1,000, 10 for 2,500, 30 for 5,000, and 50 for the 7,500.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to do a change in this, you know, just looking at it, it seems like that makes sense. My concern though would be like, we're anticipating $60,000 in revenue from this sponsorship program, and it's been working to get us that $60,000 in revenue that basically funds it. My concern is like what we did with Sawyer Brown, we made a change to jump the ticket price way up, and then our attendance went way down. You know, we went from making, you know, I think we had 1,700 people come to the concert.
Yeah.
For Sawyer Brown. I know we don't have a crystal ball to know how big, if this will change anything or if it'll pencil out.
But I mean, like she said, you have the opportunity to open that VIP section up to a lot more public that way too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people will buy those tickets instead of buying general admission.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're gonna get quite a bit more cash that way than we will just by filling it all up with sponsors.
I imagine it would be, and granted, you know, we've really only had one sponsor purchasing that platinum level, and they've also bought additional tickets every year. And so they're obviously not having a problem handing out 75
Yeah.
tickets, but I mean, even 50 tickets seems like a lot of tickets to hand out. You know, some of the sponsors have a hard time handing out the 10, but then, you know, there are other gold level sponsors that you call and ask for tickets. They obviously are not having a problem handing out those 50 either, but seems like it'd be.
So when I do it, I will actually change it a little bit because I did have differently here. And I'll kind of explain that once we go into or I can explain it now if you want, but, however you want to do it.
Do we want to talk about changing the platform to instead of 20 VIP parking also, because the gold level is 2 VIP parking.
Yeah, move it to
And
10,
it goes from 2 to 20
Yeah.
for VIP parking. It'd be cool to see that.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so my reasoning on the dollars amounts were, I think I had 4 for the bronze. Which would be tickets would be 2, basically, if you're really like gonna sit there and do the math, they'd be $250 a piece. But you're going to get your banner up at the thing, you're gonna get social media print, so those are the other things you're getting for it. If you're gonna bump up and do 2,500, they're gonna be about 175 a ticket. And you know, we could look at doing that different, or 12, whatever, $200 a ticket. And then the more you go up, the kind of lower they go. So then you get up to the platinum for 7,500, you get 50 tickets and they're $150 a ticket. So that's kind of where I was going with the tiering, is if you're gonna put out the money, you're gonna, if you really want to sit there and price out what they're gonna be, they're gonna see maybe that tier difference.
Yeah.
So that was my logic behind it.
So are all the banners gonna be the same size, even bronze to platinum?
So they provide the banner. So it just depends on what they provide, really. I know that I think the ones up on the stage, we say a certain size maybe, or haven't had an issue with the size, but
So what did we promise here? Company banner located on the concert stage, so we have to get that printed specifically, because it's not, it's a one-piece header.
oh, that's right, and we do all the businesses on that.
Yeah, 5,000 and above gets the company banner located on
Yeah.
concert stage. The rest of them are on fences and.
That they provide.
What is it? Do you have a cost for that?
I
You make sure
trying to
that we're-
recall, I want to say it was like $700.
Okay.
Like that.
And that's, so if you, I mean, you think about it, you split that up between whoever's doing those.
But then silver and bronze provide 0. So
Yeah,
0.
and that goes off the fence, just kind of
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Around the area.
It doesn't make, yeah. Seems like it kind of makes it less advantageous for the silver sponsorship, you know, because they're not getting very many tickets and they have to provide their own banner.
And they're paying more for the tickets.
Exactly, they're paying more for the tickets.
Yeah.
But they'll pay to have their name up.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, a lot of places, that's what they'll do.
It's pretty cheap to get there.
Yeah, and most places already have it done. A lot of places do. And if not, I think they're $50, $70.
Well, like I said, I definitely,
Which, Kristen, don't let me leave without getting all
I
those
like
banners
the, I
here.
like the idea. I'm just, I mean, we have to make a decision and stick with it and see what happens.
Yep.
We don't
Yeah.
have a crystal ball. But like we kind of talked about before, it's not really at this point, and what we've been doing isn't really like a sponsorship. It's more just like a ticket buy. You know, you're getting advertising, you're getting brand recognition, you're getting your name out there, and the intention is that you're supporting the fair. We're not really making any sponsorship dollars on it. It's not. You need to change it from saying, saying sponsorship to saying VIP tickets.
Bulk tickets.
Yeah, because we would, I mean, seriously, we could do it without the sponsorships and we'd sell those tickets
Yeah.
in a heartbeat for $100 each. I don't think we'd have any problem doing that. So I think that that's a difference in it. But, okay. We're good on that?
Everything you said, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, that's perfect.
Honestly, this isn't really my forte.
No, it's great. It takes all kinds. I like it.
Too, I definitely am supportive of the change, just nervous. That we don't make the money that we need to make.
No, no pain, Kyle.
Yep,
My only thoughts on this is that we're creating the small businesses. And maybe we should look at maybe a 5, or, 5 people also. Because we have a lot of companies that are real small. That have, 2 or 3 people, 4 people.
If you do 5, I think you're gonna, I mean, it's quite, actually, even at 10, it's people, not necessarily businesses that are interested. They can just, anybody could buy into it. I think the 5, you're maybe be less likely that you're gonna get
Yeah.
small businesses. You're just gonna get individuals that are like, hey, if I'm gonna have catering and a better spot, maybe I'll sit over there instead, but
Yeah.
fit half, $50 on the other side.
You discount the fact that how responsible small businesses are in the community.
Yeah.
And they are the lifeblood of our community, all the restaurants and everything else. Yeah, so you can't discount them.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it would be hard for them to have 10 people like join their group, though, I would hope.
The other thing too is this is only one piece of the sponsorship for the fair, right? This is really a VIP concert ticket purchase. I mean, they were trying to sponsor the concert, but we also do have that program for the fair that, like a friend of the fair type of thing or a fair supporter. We have those that go in our regular program, and like this program as a sponsor. Sponsoring the button busting, sponsoring the stage out here. If we do those smaller ones, they're not really getting, with those sponsorships, we'll typically give people tickets to get into the fair, but you're not really getting a concert ticket.
yeah. There's we can create lots of opportunities. Okay, so if we're good, we can end the work session. It is 6:12 to start the regular meeting. Call to order and do roll call. Was he ever able to jump on or no? Okay,
Struggling getting the link to work.
Got the link.
okay. So we'll just keep on rolling then.
So we were going to add.
Fees for festival and VIP concert program.
And then we get to move wishing tree, or you guys discuss that and then table it. Like, they will not be here to make the request.
I think we can table it until they're back. Until they
One of
come.
the things that I want to, yeah. I don't know how to deal with that as far as when your agenda approval, but their requests have been for 10 days. Through, like a Friday through another Saturday. We actually already have rental requests for the Saturday before and the Saturday after. So we can't book those rentals until we have the decision. They want to do that.
Did they give us a request then? Did they like,
There's a letter, yeah.
okay, well, let's touch point when we get to there, I think. Okay, so we have the agenda approval with those 2 being added, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's leave the CMH wishing tree on there because we don't have to make an approval. We can table it if we need to when we get to that point, if that's fine. Okay, we don't need to have that on there. So do I need to read the public comment? Do we have anyone? Is it still a thing if we don't have anyone?
There's nobody here. Yeah,
Okay, am I good to just not?
I think so.
I know you guys want to hear my voice as much as possible, but we're gonna skip it. We'll go to the consent calendar. If we can have a approval for the January meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the January meeting minutes as written.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries, and we will jump to board member reports. This is something that we are trying to add here and move forward with as well, just so you guys all know that we'll have the committees listed here. Obviously, we might not have a update on all of those at this moment, but it just kind of gives us a thing to jog our memory about maybe what we have worked on and what we could update on. So if we want to start for board member reports, we could go to Joel. Do you have anything? If not, no big deal.
I guess washer and dryer's on there. Wallace said he'll do it whenever. I told him the plumbing's in, so
Okay, great.
we just have to schedule it. That's it.
I mean, we need to pick a washer and dryer. Like, we need to decide if we
I-
want to do gas or if we want to do electric.
Oh, well, I would do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Nothing to make.
okay.
From the committees, I worked with Kyle to create a to-do list. So I'll follow up with Kyle on a number of the concert committee items are on that list. It's gone.
Yeah. So as far as where we're at with it, I've got some work on the stages. We have 2 quotes. We have 3 quotes on the stages. I had talked with Eric about them at the end of last week. He wants to have a call with one of the lowest price stage quote and just talk to him about the extra footage. It says, you know, it is gonna be a little bit tight, even though it's exactly what you told me to ask for. So, but we need to make a decision because one of them is basically said, hey, I have another request. I need to either decide or move on and book this with somebody else. Thomas Mack is confirmed. He, as far as I haven't seen the contract yet, but as far as the back line, he just needs a drum set. It sounded like Eric was optimistic that Rodney Atkins may let us use his drum set, so it may be no cost. But said at worst, maybe $500 to get a drum set. So that's reasonable. I said he'd bring his other stuff. Well, I'm gonna start working on sound quotes, and we've already talked with Grady to that who we've used in the past, Cascade Sound, if we want to get a quote from them. But we've also said, like, look, the prices have gone up a lot over the last 3 to 4 years. What can we do to not risk our production quality, but also try to bring some of our funds down, some of our costs down, because it went from being like under 10 grand to like over 20. And then we have to something like.
Perfect. Catch 22.
The other thing we'll want to think about what we're gonna do is the Latino night. And I wanted to reach out to some folks in the community. One of the concerns I have with the current political climate, is there gonna be something that we'll actually get attendance on, but I think we should still explore trying to do it moving forward. I've been working on the quotes I think we're gonna have for 2 days. And then so Brittany came by, she said she's willing to help me, whatever. We need to talk with homes about if they have sold their van or not, so we'll have to try to find a van, we'll have to try to find some RVs. Those are kind of like the urgent, they're not really urgent, they'll work out, but those are the ones that we want to make sure that we're on people's schedules. The other stuff, like catering, we'll be able to find a caterer no matter what. We'll be able to set up, we gotta get the sponsorship and the tickets sold. But getting the RVs ended up being a little challenging last year. Nothing was available by the time we got them. Stage, sound and light are the other big ones, and we've already got good progress on that. So moving forward.
I think we really need to, just as a heads up, push getting the catering figured out sooner than later. We have had a great caterer the last few years and he would love to do it again. But I don't want to leave him hanging and make him like hold those dates when he's got weddings that he could be booking.
Yeah.
Because he would really like to be a part of it and he would really like to do it. But he just doesn't want to hold those dates and then be told that we're gonna go with someone else last minute and him not have other things in line. So that might be something we want to bump up and get going on.
Okay, when we have our next concert committee meeting, kind of overlaps with sponsorship, figuring out what we're wanting to ask for as far as quotes. Like, are we wanting the barbecue options, or is there a particular type of food that we want to be asked for. I think Andy can probably do anything
Yeah,
that we want, but,
Who catered it?
Andy
like
Mercer.
that. Catering.
I think, if I remember right, everyone liked it. I'm just asking. I don't know if you get reports on it at all.
We had we did a survey on the VIP, and there was I think there were some comments on like canned foods, or I think somebody did say barbecue. It was mixed. It was a very small fraction of responses that responded to it. I can look at what those were again, but I feel like there was, my thought was that people were looking for a change up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that particular caterer can't change up
Yeah.
anyway. If one guy can go get one guy can go get one.
Yeah, I think just to be, that, I mean, that's a very busy time of year, so to be able to lock something in helps us and other
And
places, so.
there's a lot of interest there's been other calls from folks asking if we're going to bid it out.
Yeah.
So, being that it's public, we should have a process.
Yep. Yep, so I just think getting it out
I
the
think
sooner
he
the
does a
better.
great job, and he doesn't add extra work for us, which is one of the most important things for
Yeah.
our team. It's not adding more to our plate than we have to do.
Okay. Do you have anything else on any of that you were going with? No,
Not for concert.
anything else?
That's mostly it.
Okay, I don't believe I have anything other than what we've already kind of talked about and what we will talk about, so.
Sponsorship is the big one, because that's what we need to do to go on sale.
Yeah, so we'll make that down here, right? What I already talked about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Nothing exciting. Kyle and that.
A lot of the conversation was past years, just kind of getting up to speed. I don't know what you were expecting for what does this here do, but there's a lot that happens between, access and schedules and rules and suspicious people, lost kids, injury reports. It's a whole bunch of things to consider that we all need to be on page with what the plan is, but we also need to be able to tell our security contractor what we want them to do.
Yeah.
Sorting that all out.
I got a report right now.
all right. So if that is all, we can jump into manager's report.
Alright, starting with some of the handouts I gave you. I gave you guys each, and I don't know because I ran out of them, but the advertisement tabs for the last 2 years. And we have some more in the office I can fill out. I just thought that would be good information for you guys to have. Guys, just to kind of see, those were what the fair was the last 2 years, so. It's just good historical information for you to see what it was. I provided you guys with copies of the conditional use permit that we were talking about with Gail at the meeting we had 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. So that you have a copy of that for your book as we're moving forward. The other one is this handbook update. The county revised the committee handbooks. You have the old copy of that in your binder. This is a replacement. It covers some social media rules, and it covers some civil rights. There's some civil rights statements that the DOJ has said basically that we need to make sure that all of our committees are followed. Whichever it said. I mean, I can put it up and read it again, but, these statements need to be made in order to qualify for various fundings that gets.
But the other one is recycled.
Yes.
Got it.
Fair college and legislative updates. So I spent the last 2 days in Salem. The first day was primarily at the Capitol. We went and talked to various reps and handed out the one pager that the Fair Association has put together for the various bills that are out. The big ask is that full 1% of lottery funding. They passed that over 20 years ago that said, set a fund for the Oregon State Lottery to give 1% of the lottery funds to fairgrounds. And they must have figured out how much money that actually is going to be. And so they came back shortly and capped it at a certain $1 million amount. which is why we get that 55 and 53 penny. So now what we're just trying to ask for is that full 1% that it was the initial point. When it passed, and it does seem like there's some good support for that. There's multiple bills in both houses that are getting traction. There's another one that is to do a $10 million grant program for fairgrounds for emergency preparedness and emergency response facilities. It would be managed by the Oregon Department of Emergency Department. So unlike all of the other legislation that's came through recently, that's all been managed by Business Oregon to do the lottery funding, this would come from the emergency department. So that could be something pretty useful for us to be able to prepare for being an emergency response facility. Say Cascadia happens and now we don't have any shelter or beds or who knows? I mean, there's fairgrounds that don't even have backup power. So depending on which fairgrounds needs are, we would use that $10 million station. Ideally, they would do the same even Stephen 37 fair breakout. But that remains to be seen. Those are the big two. There's some other smaller bills that may or may not have this traction. They wanna get the state to fund like a needs assessment for all fairgrounds, to basically come up with like a capital improvement list. So for future legislation sessions, they can say fairgrounds as a whole need $80 million to do all of these projects, and they have something that they can actually do. So that was good. We were able to get out and, make our case. It seemed like we got good odds. And then followed up with that, today there was a fair college session that's gonna be 8 programs between now and the convention in the fall. So 2 days a month for the next 8 months, which with a break during fair season, they're not gonna do any of them for that 2 or 3 months there. Then everybody's having their fairs. Today, the county attorney for Polk County did a 5-hour presentation on starting with ORS 565. Through that in detail, talked about insurance requirements, talked a little bit about firearms on properties. That's one of the hot issues. We talked a little bit about ICE. There's concerns, facilities and events are having about ICE agents showing up during their events. How that's going to go down. I got back and I had notes there in my book, but I left them in the truck. I'll type up some more of a summary and send it to you guys on my update that kind of hits on some of the other items we talked about. The next one will be the end of March, and it'll be at the Clackamas County Fairgrounds. So that's another thing that's kind of neat about it, is that we'll all be able to bounce around and see these other facilities and talk about public works operations. OFEA, so that's Oregon Festivals and Events Association. Their annual conference is in Seaside at the end of the month. Kristen and I will go down to it. It's at the convention center. It's one of those things where if you're down there when it's happening, you can easily pop in and at least check out their trade show. Because there'll be booths up with vendors there trying to, might be a stage contractor, a sound contractor, or the guy that we use for sound will likely be there. There'll be various entertainers there. We might be able to book some entertainment at that event.
Usually there the whole time.
What's that?
You guys usually there the whole time?
Yeah, it starts on a Thursday afternoon and it goes through Saturday morning. So it's 1.5 work days and then a half a day on the weekend. We'll make sure that everything's ready for it. And I'm trying to think which event we have booked that weekend. But it was something that we could manage though. Okay, what else? Arena sign. So the end of January was the deadline for our arena sign program. We have 2 new ones that haven't paid yet. We have 2 that are not renewing and two that didn't pay last year, so we need to get those straightened out. But I think we've had like five or six new.
The two that are not renewing, are they not renewing because of the increase, or are they no longer in business, or?
Looks
there
like
a
there's
reason?
one that's not, so it's A&A Pest Control, I think they just, did that. I don't know why.
Okay.
A personal walking community hasn't paid since the 2024, Columbia Bank didn't pay in 2024, but they're no longer Columbia Bank. they're
Yeah.
Umpqua Bank. And then Versa is the other one. So, I mean, we still have a net increase, like we're the ones with the 6 new that we've been able to recruit so far. That's coming along.
Who's the coastal block? Is the yellow? Is it Mike? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to reach out to them at all? I just talked to them today. They just not paying, or do they like want it, or?
They just declined for this year. I mean, if you want to find out why, but they just declined.
So they did.
Oh, they don't want it.
It was the first one, what's that?
A personal opportunities just says they're not paying.
Oh, Ben, sorry.
A&A Pest Control is the one that.
Yeah, if they deny, then I
That's the one.
won't reach out to them,
That's the
but
one.
the A coastal is, if they haven't paid, I'll reach out to them. I just talked to his mom.
Yes.
Okay.
They've sent them many places, I think we're 12 them. from that.
Yeah, we had a. Supposed to happen. They didn't.
And the other one, we'd like to do an announcement that announces all of the new Fairfield members. I've gotten a couple of the bios from you guys. We could do a group photo, or you guys could send a photo, whichever you'd like to do. Get a headshot or whatever you'd like to see, but in the past, our county communications department, and they're the ones that would do the announcement. Basically, it would be the county commission announcing that they've appointed you guys as fair board members. Take it up.
Just the new ones or everyone?
Well, I think they did one for you when you were.
Yeah.
on, so,
I was just
Okay.
wondering, like, if we want to ask maybe like Lindsay, is it? I'm gonna say her last name wrong. If she'd want to come to the next meeting and do pictures, and I think that might be something fun to have done.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wouldn't be much, I'm sure. Or either Claire or, like, I've got a few people that would do it and would do a good job, and they would look uniform, and we could do a group photo and individual photos.
if that's what you guys would like to do, yeah.
Is everyone okay with that if I was to do that?
Sounds great.
It's better than my Facebook.
Okay, I'll reach out to them and see if they can come to the next meeting, and then we'll do that.
That sounds good to you.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right.
That's
Go
not going too far into the week, that's the main updates. I mean, there's a million other things that are going on every day.
This is not on the agenda, but is there a plan to replace Matt, and what is the time frame for that?
So I know Matt's made his announcement, but we're really.
I keep on writing to submit my formal
Oh.
writing.
Like a 2-month notice, all right?
That was back in December, so.
So, once we get that to the county, then they can advertise for it.
Okay,
It'll be entirely up to the county. To deal with that process.
Got it.
They will want you all's opinion. To start the advertisement.
and who was it, you that, when they did the interviews and then they remembered to ask, was it you or you that was asked if you wanted to participate in the interview, ask a question? And then they were like, oh, we can't do it because we missed somebody.
Oh, it was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
And I think Bruce left or something. like
Yeah,
that.
right, yeah, oh, it wouldn't be that, it should be.
But that's never, just so everyone knows, I don't think has ever happened
Yeah.
like that ever.
That they
by the
asked,
way.
that they asked if you want to interview.
No, that what you guys went through,
The whole thing, oh, okay.
correct,
And
that was new.
what they worked with you guys this last time around is more typical to an appointment on any board that the county does. The
Okay,
board
yeah.
just kind of, I mean, it's really a lot of renewals, really.
Got it, oh, I see, okay.
Yeah. So, just as like,
that process is more typical to what they do across the board.
Yeah.
For the planning, commission, other committees or all of the other committees.
Yeah. Okay, so we could probably jump into business agenda then, with the CMH Wishing Tree not being here to do their request. There is something rather in here, I believe you said that's in here for them. Which is,
They're looking for,
this is good as a meet this one. Yeah, I have a little ADD and started reading something else.
I think it'd be great to have them here to not only, do their request for
Yeah,
the next year, but also tell their story about how the last one went, that's part of
yeah,
kind of circling around with the whole program. But in the meantime, we do have a rental request for December 13th for a wedding in here. And then we have a rental request for the Saturday, the 20th for a company party. I think we've already confirmed that one. We did the same thing this year, the Saturday. So, I think it's a conversation to have, we're waiving the fees for them to do this. It's a great program. I think we could find a way to do both. Have the rentals on the weekend and then also have them. And you're going to do there. I just don't know 100% if that's gonna be doable for them or not. Because they have so much going on. That's 5 full days in here. If it's from Monday through Friday versus from Friday through Friday.
So my concern, so you
so
said you have a.
Sunday through Friday then, right?
They want to be in here on the 12th.
So they would need to be in here for earlier.
Yeah.
Sunday through Friday instead. If that's what we're wanting to do, is to try to work those other events in there, correct?
Yeah. at a
Okay.
minimum, yeah.
So I think it would be important for them to know that, but I'm also curious if you actually are trying to book a wedding, I don't imagine they're gonna wait a month
Yeah, they need to know.
to pick that. So waiting for the fact that they didn't come in and join virtually, I'm not sure why, but.
Is there a way that someone can reach out to them and this week and just see like, hey, if we do this, will these other dates work? This is what we have going on for, an event wanting to be booked. We're happy to, do what we need to for you, but we also have this.
Yeah.
And then can we do like a virtual? No, because it has to be public.
Well, but you can, the scheduling change doesn't matter, because and then we can still make that decision as to whether or not we're gonna approve it when they actually approve their.
Yeah.
No cost. That's a difference,
Yeah.
we can separate those two, because the scheduling, he can handle it, right?
In theory, not to add too much to it, but on the 19th, we could have a meeting, have a regular meeting part of that. Ask them to come to that.
Yeah, that's a lot, but if we could separate the two. We could just get, and maybe we would need to do that, but if we could just get you to align with them, we're recommending Sunday through Friday for them. That's not actually a decision that we have to get public approval or have it.
At best, then.
Right, but then they can still come back the following regular meeting, and we can talk about whether or not we're gonna give it to them for a discount, right? That's all the rules, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll follow up with them, talk to them, see if that'll work. Okay. And then.
So maybe just. I'm thinking about this now, maybe since we have Gail here, maybe we could bump up and have her do the item, and then we can circle back to this roof project.
Yeah.
You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Gail, I should have done that earlier, sorry.
No, that's okay. I've been listening. So it's been interesting to hear your discussions. So my presentation is very brief. We worked after your work session last week. Jay Blake, who's our planning manager, worked with Kyle, put together just the basic application so that we can get your Fair Board's approval and then get that signed and submitted. And then we will work with Kyle to put together the narrative that comes in with it, the supporting documents, but we just didn't have time between last Tuesday and today to do all that work. We are hoping that you will authorize Kyle to get the application signed so that we can submit the application to amend the conditional use permit. I made notes about all the different conditions that you had concerns about at your work session last week. And so we've got those noted on the application itself. And then we will fill in the details working off of our notes and your meeting minutes and working with Kyle so that we can process that. We would anticipate that this would probably be scheduled before the hearings officer in April, maybe late March, early April, and then you should have your approval, I would think, barring any appeals by the middle to end of April of this year. And really, I'm just here to answer any questions you might have. So thank you.
So in addition to the application, there is some community connections that potentially need to happen for this to be successful or to streamline.
So that happens all through the process. So we would do the application and then planning would do that public hearing. So they would do all.
Right. Yeah, do you have relationships, more directly asking if you have relationships with the neighbors? Do you connect with them on any?
Not all of them, some of them.
So you would recognize which ones that would need more attention than not leading into this?
Yeah, and frankly, I think the stuff that we have that we're asking for, I don't think any of our immediate neighbors are gonna have any concerns with the stuff that we're trying to do.
Okay, they don't just
You know,
get it
we
there.
did have somebody that I think was probably even further away than what was even be in the notice
Much
that
further.
was complaining about the quinceaneras. That it was the noise from the quinceaneras, and they would complain about they'll complain about the airplanes that are flying out there as well. And a lot of because there was some issue with the quinceaneras saying it's late, past the noise time, but they were also just complaining about things that were well within the ordinance and the rules.
No.
So they ended up moving away. We haven't heard anything from anybody since.
Okay.
I think, a lot of the stuff that we're asking for, I don't know if it's particularly the neighbors, but, it's people, it's locals from the near area that would like to see those events happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Don't have any questions?
The big one was the Department of Forestry, I think, as far as, these existing conditions. I think a lot of it came from them, because they really were the ones that have the resources to follow along with the planning process. And
Nobody probably still works there that was there in that case.
they seem to be supportive of what we were asking to do
Okay.
when we met with them a year ago.
Are you gonna meet with them again, just to give them a heads up?
But they'll get noticed for all of.
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I understand that. Usually though, from a community connection or a connection perspective, it might be helpful for you just to give them a heads up so that they come directly to you if they have any questions instead of waiting until the process.
So they get a letter that
Yeah.
says there's a hearing.
Yeah. You along with them, okay?
I mean, I only really know a couple of them. So we get on starts the conversation. I don't know what's typical. Are you familiar with that happening with other types of applications around the area, Gail? Or any other things the county has done to try to change code?
Yeah,
some-
so different jurisdictions and the county itself, we sometimes will require a pre-application meeting before you even submit your application. We usually have done it in the Arch Cape area because that's where we tend to see the most conflicts occurring. But if it's a really big or controversial project, or we expect a lot of controversy, we usually would require a pre-application meeting. We did do sort of a pre-application meeting, not so much with the neighbors, but with forestry, DSL, and others. And forestry at that meeting didn't really have any concerns. Now the neighbors might be a different issue, and I don't know them, so I don't know how they might react to this application. But I think that it should be okay. We haven't had any code complaints about the fairgrounds, so.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I can start with, kind of doing an overlay and figuring out who would fit in that public notice range. It's 700 feet, or is it further than that? 700 feet?
750.
700 feet. So just kind of pinging who's all within that circle in the first place.
Hmm.
It may only be 4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Cows and stuff.
Steve James, Robert Martin.
And Robert Martin's is here all the time. We have a conversation with him.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the one right next to us, I haven't met with those people. Is that the James or
Yeah,
Sam?
that's Steve James,
Yeah.
good guy.
And then you got Cave just right on the other side of the road, would probably fit into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll be safe.
From there, and then Versa on the other side of the road. Don't know if there's really anybody else, maybe up the back corner, you might hit the Collins.
Maybe.
We could do it, but I mean, you're
Yeah.
right there, just brainstorming, that's
Yeah.
like,
That's it. Nice.
5, 7, maybe.
Okay. Do we have anything else on that?
Just if you guys can make a motion to approve the application.
Make a motion to approve the application for the cup application.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
I'll second. Okay, all in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Gail.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Should like bump back to the first one.
I know, me too. It was so nice.
Okay. Assessment of the roof. So he got me the report yesterday morning. I forwarded that to you guys all via email yesterday morning, and then also just gave you a copy of it. And
Yeah.
not sure if I left myself off the copy here.
What are you looking for?
Just a copy of the packet from you that you're looking at as reading it with you. I think I only printed enough off for you guys.
I can give you mine. What do you?
I got it.
You got it. Okay.
So, yeah. Both spots. I've gone through the suggested alternatives. I skimmed through this because I was in those sessions for the last 2 days. I didn't really have an opportunity to dig deep into it, but I had already discussed it with them in advance, so, no slope, compromise, and it's kind of just a summary of what his assessment was. The highlights out here, what the issues were. The leaks in the roof, unsuccessful previous repairs, missing fasteners, flashing penetrations failing. Crickets in the dirt water around the dam are missing, so that'd be like dams to get the water to run off without cooling up. Gutters are failing basically all the way around. And then, everywhere that the gutters are failing, it's dripping out, and now the wall is also got damage because it's been dripping there on the ground, so. Sheet metal panels have. Issues because of rust. So here's their primary recommendation for this building. Is to do an infill includes oh, what the heck?
What
I was sharing this onto that screen.
page? What page is the
Page
recommendation?
3.
Okay, on the
page
bottom.
3.
Okay.
So to do an infill, so basically take a insulating board, put it in between each of the ribs on the roof. And that gets it flat, and then on top of that, they put another layer of like a 1-inch insulating board on top. So now you have, instead of having the roof that's got the standing seams the whole way across, it's a flat roof. Then they would roll over the membrane on top of that, and then each one of those seams is welded together, sealed together, and then everywhere that there's a penetration, it gets a special fitting that's there. It's all like a one-piece seamless seal of the entire roof, which is a pretty common repair for roofs like this, from what I understand. And in fact, two of the estimates that Jason had in the past were to do a very similar concept to this, where he basically just called the roof and said, give me a quote. So it's on board with what most of the roofers seem to be recommending to do. The additional advantage of this is it would increase the insulated value of this building, so there's some energy incentives that we can get. It could be up to 50 grand in energy incentive for this one. And then ideally our bills go down as well if we realize the additional insulated value. It'd be a 20-year warranty. The rough cost is $550,000 to $585,000 to do just this building. So you take off that 50K incentive off of that, you're down to this 500 to 530. And we have the 277 that we're getting from Business Oregon that has to be used before February 2026. That we go towards this project as well. And so then we would have to make up those extra costs. Somewhere's around $200,000 out of our budget. So we have, in this last year alone, we had $660,000 in contingency. So that was basically the money at the end of the budget that we didn't budget to use. It's just sitting there and seeing. So at the very least, we can use that. It also appears that we underestimated our ending fund balance last year by about $200,000. So depending on how the dust all settles, our reserve may end up being right where it is right now. We may not actually get our reserves. Of course, that ultimately results on what the bids come back when they actually figure it out. So that's the recommended repair. The alternative repair would be to do just a spray on coating on the roof. That would be around 163 to 178,000. It would probably only last 10 years and it'd have to be redone. There would be no energy incentives that we would get to go with that as well.
Did he give you a installation factor on whatever he'd be applying with that brain roof?
It's got to reach a minimum of R15.
So he thinks it'll give an R15. Is that including the installation that's already existing, or is that?
And
proof it's
so
R15?
there's some. I can get him to give a description on.
Because if
he had
it's an
figured out.
additional R15 of installation,
Yeah.
that might, I mean, that's significant.
So there's got to be the case that some of this, is this insulation that's in here still operating at, you know, it's premium level or original level.
And then
And
what's,
that's based off of so the incentive is basically assuming that this insulation is not really doing what it's doing before. So it's increasing with the R15 to get the incentive.
so total R value of R15.
Yeah.
I'm reading Joel's code. Seems like it's total R value. It would
Okay.
be an additional.
I know, I mean, that would be something else if it was. That would be, wow. Also,
Go ahead.
so what's the slope on this roof? Because I've been on a lot of membraners, and I know, in fact, I was on one today, and it was maybe a 112 slope. I don't know, does anyone have to get up on the roof to do anything really in the winter time?
Not really in the winter, you know, we would have to, clean gutters, that's kind of the big thing. There would be an occasional thing, but we're not gonna go up there when it's raining anyways, as it is now.
How long did this?
I know it's low, so this building was built in 1995.
Okay,
And it's been leaking since 1997. I don't know how long it's been leaking, but it's been leaking for a long time.
So
It is a low slope roof. I don't know what the actual slope is.
for today's discussion, because I know you don't have bids yet, what are the?
Yeah, so the third alternative that they had was a full replacement of the roof, so tear off the metal. and put new metal on, and that was expected to be 610 to 640,000. So what we need at this meeting is basically you guys to decide which of those three are, if we want to take their recommended repair of the membrane project and then have them move forward, because right now they're waiting for us to say which of these alternatives we want to pick, and then from there, they'll move forward with doing the bid documents and the drawings in order to do the bid. And so what the goal tonight would be is to get you guys to approve the alternative that they're suggesting. And then by the March meeting, they would have those draft bid documents ready for you guys to see, and then we would go out the bid in March. And ideally start construction either prior to July 1st or just after July 1st.
Yeah, I find it interesting that they didn't put the life expectancy of the roof on the new metal roof.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm pretty sure they're 25 years, right? That's a life expectancy for a metal roof is 25 years. I'm like 99% sure.
Honestly, mine was, I mean, when they did the other one, it was, I don't know.
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that.
But I mean, you're looking at $500,000 compared to. Well, it's not that much difference, I guess.
It's normally, it's like 40. Oh, that's what they do. Yeah, I think it's like 40 years or something.
So what's the benefit to hold a roof versus putting the additional insulation on top of this and, going with the membrane? Because the membrane doesn't rely on the steel at all. The steel is just there.
So,
when we were talking about the project in the first place, and that was just one of the alternatives, because really what other alternatives are there to consider?
Yeah,
Besides these
Yeah.
three, and so it's like, well, what would a new?
and then this might be, silly, but okay, so they were thinking I see. A whole new roof, membrane roof here, and then just a coating over there.
Yeah, so for the arena, the method that they're suggesting is just the coating over there. And then that would have to be maintained, but in order to do that entire roof like this would be very expensive. Do the overlay like this, there's really not a lot of equipment and transitions on that roof. It's just a real big flat roof. This roof, it's butted up against the wall, and there's all of the gear that's on top of the kitchen. It's makes it a much more complicated than the roof. That other project would have to be maintained for the arena. So yeah, we've talked about the exhibit hall. Their suggestion or recommendation is to do the flue fill membrane overlay. Their suggestion for the arena roof is to do this liquid applied membrane on the entire roof. So that would be like, they pull the skylights off and put metal down. They patch anything that needed to be repaired, and sandblast the whole roof. And then put this liquid membrane coating down to the manufacturer's specifications. It said probably every 12 to 15 years that would have to be reapplied. That's what good means.
And how much is that? You said every.
That's 475 to 495 for the arena. That's 40,000 square feet. This is 17.
I mean, I think it's weird that they, like Matt said, they didn't give a life expectancy on the new metal roof piece of it. 'Cause, yeah, it's like 40 to 70 years on a new metal.
Yeah, this one didn't last 25 years,
Yeah.
This was built in 1995, so we're hitting 30 years. All right.
Yeah.
And it's been leaking for 10 years. Yes.
Well, there's only a $60,000 difference between the
Patch
between the
versus.
patch
new
versus
roof.
the new roof. So
Yeah.
it seems to me like the new roof for this section would be the one that makes sense.
Yeah.
60 grand over the next. If we get 4
Yeah.
years out of it, if they do it right, then we'd be well money ahead for
Yeah,
sure,
I agree.
long term.
Does that also include the insulation?
doesn't, so
Is that
that
the
would not
difference?
be a new installation.
Yeah, they
It wouldn't get
do
energy
insulation.
incentives on
That's
that
the kicker.
project either.
Yeah,
Are those installation things, like, you know, they gave incentives for buying electric cars, well, they eventually took that away. I mean, is there any,
Yeah, nothing's,
Yeah.
that's what I mean,
Nothing
you can't bank on
you
that.
can't really count on that stuff long term.
I mean,
Yeah,
and you don't really.
The incentive is a one-time payment for the project, for the construction. That's not.
Right, right.
You know, I think that's a good question. When I read this yesterday morning, I was kind of like, those places seem really close. I would say there, I think going with the recommendation makes sense. I think the other two companies, had a similar type of thing that they were talking about being also been on these roofs that have these membranes, and it's kind of like everything's a one piece. Even when you put a new roof on, it's gonna have flashing and transitions and you know, it's basically adhesives that are doing the seal on all of these transitions. That's what's failing now. With that membrane, everything is like pressure welded together.
Yeah.
And it's all like one piece of big ones. But if you get a hole in it, you're just patching the membrane. You're not having to rip off this whole entire transition and redo. Figure out where it's going.
I think there's still, going back to whether it's just a full new metal roof to the recommendation. I just think there's just still some things missing, as if it's in, you know, we're not doing an insulation. You also mentioned replacing the issues with the walls that have leakage. I think that's where if we're trying to compare apples to apples or closer to it. I'm wondering if we need more information on, for the expo, this area specifically, what are truly those options, what's included? And potentially, you know, if there was insulation still to be added, if there's still a metal roof is a choice, what is the cost for insulation on top of that? So I feel like they just kind of like threw it all together, but then didn't really compare them exactly.
yeah, they didn't like break that
Not
up
very
down.
clear.
Yeah.
On new.
Like what's included, what's in scope, what's out of scope, and then, you know, what are they, like, you know, I would think they should be able to say, if we're doing insulation, then it'll be about this much. This is how much it's gonna cost for the replacing the walls. I mean, they know that, that's how they came up with the number. It just feels like it's a little light.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a life expectancy on that.
Right, that too.
Makes it easier to.
Yeah, but I think they just kind of threw it in there. Here's something else you could do. But I think if, you know, truly, if we want to know what we're gonna do here, there should be, you know, 3 clear options that are
Yeah, and
advised.
I can get some follow-up answers from them. Are you guys, maybe this is something at the very least we can circle back to at our
Yeah,
meeting on the
yes,
next.
yeah, if you can get those answers, well, let's circle back to that then.
And because I agree, it's like, go with an new roof is just saying.
Right.
So but just keeping in mind that the concept for this is that really the only phase of this that we have secured funding for is the roof on this side. So the future repair on the arena is to be determined. It could be 5 years from now.
Right,
Because
yeah.
when are we gonna come up with another $700,000?
Right, right.
To do that.
Yeah.
I think at any rate, we would want them to do some spot repairs on that, so that at least it stops leaking, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, the full repair, but
Yeah.
at least so we're not getting puddles. And then, you know, the walls again is a separate project.
Yeah.
It's down to the, which that one may actually end up happening before that other roof, it just really depends on what kind of funding.
Okay.
Depends on if our measure passes, depends on if we
Yeah.
get that extra
Yeah.
funding from the legislature.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can ask him some clarified questions. So you had questions on life expectancy, on our values for new roof.
And I was just kind of curious, why is that the recommended repair if it's not much more developed?
I think the way, from my understanding, is like, you know, the metal that's on this roof is in good shape. It's just the roof leaks, and it's not really the metal that's leaking, it's all of the transitions and all of the spots where it's the problem, but as far as structurally, the metal is sound. It's just, it's got spots where it's penetrations for equipment coming in and the peaks and the peaks.
So I think the other thing you're asking is what we're looking for is just, clarification and a breakdown of replacement of the walls, the insulation, if we decide to do it as a, all cardboard, individual menu options.
And I think,
So
especially with the wall piece, we would probably, when we bid out the roof on this, we would say as an additional bid item
Yeah,
to throw this in, and
Yeah.
then we can make it work. And like, say the price of the repair actually comes in at 450,000 on the low bid. It's like, well, let's get the walls done now.
I see. Yep,
And then
yeah,
wording in the contract so that, in the bid document, so that we can accept parts, piecemeal out.
Okay, that sounds good. The last one is that the tax measure.
Yes, so this is all prepped and ready to go to the county board for approval on the 12th. So the big part is the SEL 805. That's the form that says we request to put this on the ballot. And so the county board is who has to make that request. And then from there, the ballot title gets drafted, and we don't have any input on the wording of that ballot title. We really only have input on what is on that SEL 805. And then the county attorney or the district attorney is legally statutorily required to do the wording for that. Now, what we do have is that this is the 5th time this has gone up, and so we have a draft of it already, and since they work for us, we already have a good idea that this would be what it is gonna look like. So we put all that information together in the application for you guys to approve. The resolution and order is the actual document that the county uses for basically authorizing the county manager to sign that application. So this is for you guys to look at the SEL, look at the draft of the ballot title, the draft of the resolution and order. And so all of that goes in and has to be submitted by February 28th. And so if you guys can approve it, you go to county on the 12th, we would get this turned in on the 13th and 14th. So well ahead of the deadline. That gets public notice for 7 days. Basically, it's for anybody in the community to look and say, the wording on this is misleading. You're trying to trick us. And there's, essentially, that's what it's the period of time for the public to look at it. So what we really tried to do is stick to the same wording that's been, approved in the past. The prior 4 times, with really the only changes being the dates that it's valid for and the amounts.
Yeah.
That it's going to anticipate to receive. And then from there, after that, 7 days goes by, that's when the ballot title is given to us by the district attorney, and then we use that to turn in this 801 form. And that is where we attach the explanatory statement. So the explanatory statement is the part that really where we can tell the story more. It also has to be impartial and can't be misleading, and it can't really be persuasive. It's really just got to be an explanation of the facts and the impacts. So the draft that I have on that, I think it needs some work because I think it does probably have a little bit of bias in it, but it's a good starting point for us to get that conversation going. Tighten that up. We have until March 20th to do the explanatory statement.
is this it? Is this what you're speaking to, or is there something else? This
That's
is-
the memo, but there's all the
That's
attachments are there.
It's the very back of the packet that he gave us right before the financial statement.
So,
So
It's so
there's,
Here. Look at it.
Oh,
Good.
looks like I got them a little out of order. So this one here is the 805.
Yep.
And really the only language in here that we really have any room to work with is this summary. And again, this is the same language that's been in it 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
Now we could get creative and change that a little, but at this point, I think it's worked 4 times in a row now. And it seems like we have a formula that works for that. But if there was something you really wanted to see change, we can make that happen. So the other one then is the resolution and order. So this is what the county will vote on at their meeting. This says county manager, you can put this on the ballot. sign the application. And then the draft explanatory statement is, oh, here's the draft of the ballot title. Again, same wording that's been used the last 4 times. This, we technically don't have any say on. The district attorney or the county attorney has to do this. And it's basically just using the language from the 805. One thing to note, like that top part does say 20 words and it's more than 20 words. And I was like, yeah, is this right? But said the 20 words is before you add this measure renews the current local option taxes, and that's required to be on the renewal of any existing measure or levy measure. And it doesn't go with the county codes. Like, do we have to reword this? He says, no, it's statutorily required to have that statement on there, which is helpful. I mean, that's one of the things that really is beneficial. Saying it. We're not asking for new taxes, we're just asking to.
Okay, so does anyone want
And
to make
then
a
this page here is the draft of the explanatory statement. So if you guys can look at that and give me input, that's the thing that really needs the most input. And then a motion approving the SEL 805.
I think it looks great. I read it earlier in the email.
Yeah. So does anyone want to make a recommendation? for approval?
There's a recommended motion there too.
Yep. All highlighted if.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Request the placement of a renewal for the Clatsop County Fairgrounds 5-year local option tax measure, ensuring continued funding for operations, maintenance, and the annual fair by placing the measure on the May 20th, 2025 primary election ballot.
And do you want a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's carries.
It's an interesting tidbit. I was told that Polk County is placing local option for their fairgrounds at 15 cents. And they will be the only other fairground that has.
15 cents.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
So what you're looking for us, for your, an action for the board, what are you looking for us to do is to review this?
The explanatory statement,
Yeah.
and give me some input on that.
And where did you say there was a limit of 20 words?
That was in the ballot title.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
This has a limit of 500.
500 words. Okay. And have you run it through AI to see where
I have,
it
yeah.
thinks it's what was it? It's supposed to be not what?
It's supposed to be
Not-
impartial.
Impartial. Have you asked them if it is?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
That said, there's some stuff that, and like I said, I think it definitely, even when I read it, I'm like, it probably. Really bad.
I think, yeah. There's a lot of adjectives and maybe it's moving in that place is easier. than those.
Yeah, this was like the first draft to get it in front of you guys. So
Yeah.
we had something to work off of.
And you're looking for that for our next regular session?
Yes, well, yes, this said, this has to be submitted by March 20th. So,
Okay. For the March, beginning, no later than the beginning of March meeting.
Let me follow up with you guys and see if there's a hard deadline, because they'll still have to go. This will have to go to the county.
Okay,
also
yeah, let us know.
To figure out the deadline that I have to get in front of them.
Okay. Do we have finance report on there? Do we have a quick tidbit of that?
If there's any questions you guys have, really at this point, we're right on the cusp of really diving into the budget, because I have to build it, and so I didn't dig into this too hard, but starting essentially tomorrow, they opened the budget module yesterday, and I'm gonna have to start working on those current year end projections. I have been trying to pencil in some of those expenses that I know we are going to incur between now and the end of the year, like the drop, whatever we need left for the dryer, anything. We're gonna start with the wetland project, those consulting costs. We're gonna buy some blocks to go along with the monster truck show, so we have those. There was a few other things that I had been starting to try to figure out exactly what do we have in our forecast for the next 6 months, so that we can come up with those year projections.
Okay.
But we'll be deep into it over the next 3 days.
Perfect. Nothing has to happen on that though, right? We just.
Yeah, it's
No,
just
okay,
basically
perfect.
keeping you guys updated on that. You have-
All right.
Now you have those other two items. The fees and the,
Okay. Moving to the other two items.
so 10% increase on the. Festival
Yes.
fees.
Yeah, can I make a motion? Can I do that?
Yeah.
I cannot. I can, right? I didn't think I could. Yeah, no, for real?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I didn't think so. That's why I'm quiet. Perfect.
Yeah, I think both of them, so this is the discussion for you guys to have, but I think the intent would be to increase it by 10%.
Correct.
So it is a little confusing with Scandinavian Festival, because they pay 3,500.
Total.
And then they give us a percentage of their parking, so they don't have like a flat rate. Whereas the Crab Fest.
They also don't charge people $50 to come in the door.
Crab Fest-
No.
So
And so
low.
when you're saying a 10% increase, is it a 10% increase? Just their flat rental, or is it?
I'd say to their flat rental, yes.
Yeah, what they get charged.
To the 3,500.
Yes, correct, yeah. Okay,
Fan Fest is not attended like
Yeah.
that.
I move to increase ScanFest and CrabFest rental fees by 10% for this year, with the option to revisit for next year. See what we're gonna be with those fees.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
I-
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, and our second one was the VIP, the VIP ticket amount for the levels of sponsorship.
I think we should remove that VIP, be a sponsorship, giving tickets for the VIP area. Don't say that on VIP tickets.
So we had talked, I think the one thing that Kyle had talked about, or we've talked about, is the concern if we do a significant change this year, since it's so close to the time that we need to get this out and publicized and start selling. That's why we're looking to see if we can do some change, but not a significant change.
Then hit it hard, like right after the fair, if you want to do like revamp, but I think there's a lot you could look at. As far as making that an exclusive experience and make it VIP, right? Like, if it's VIP, it's gotta have this exclusivity and make it feel special. Right? Versus, yeah, it versus just being a sponsorship. Like, what are their other benefits that they would get, deliverables that they would get? Food, special access, things like that.
I know they enjoy having their banners up too as well.
Yeah, they do.
That's the sponsorship piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People enjoy having their banner up.
Perfect. Do we have a motion for the change?
So just to recap, you would say 50 in platinum, 30 gold,
14 in silver and 4 in bronze.
14.
I had 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I changed
And
it.
then 10 VIP parking passes for platinum.
Yeah.
Well, so the reason being is it tiers the prices to be more like, the more you do, the better the pricing
It's
is.
like shopping
technically.
at Freddy's instead of Costco.
Yeah, it's just kind of like boom, boom, boom.
What'd you say?
It's like shopping at Freddy's instead
Oh,
of.
okay.
Yeah, it's well, Safeway's down on the bottom.
Yeah.
50, 30, 14 and 4,
Correct.
and then 10 and 2 for parking.
Yes.
And then if we need to add in there that we would be willing to sell 20 or 30, I would say 30 VIP tickets at the price of 150 a piece or something.
Okay, well, and I think we can play with that as we get
Yeah.
closer to, if we're under.
Yeah. Then they maybe say sell individual sponsorship.
And so in the
Or-
past, it's been 600
Yeah.
copies in there.
Oh, so you can do more if you're not selling the.
Yeah, but ideally, I think with this level, I mean, if we sold 1-for-1 every sponsorship that we sold in the prior year, we received the same income and still got the same amount, there would be, you know, what is this, 30% less people in that space. So it would be less crowded.
Let's cater.
Was catering more
So what do we sell our VIP tickets to the general public for?
We've never done,
We've never just
we've
sold.
never just sold.
I think
Okay.
way back they did,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
and they were like low, it was like $30, which is.
Well,
Yeah.
that's when like, okay, I'm not gonna go there, but they were like selling them for like $20. They'd go to the thing and just grab some.
And we were
Yeah.
only receiving like 30K in sponsorship.
Yeah.
In that,
Yeah.
from that program at the time. And then the last 2 years, we only allowed the top 2 tiers to purchase additional tickets.
At $100.
So if you were a gold or a sponsor, you could buy them.
So I guess the reason I asked that is that if this year we plan on selling individual VIP passes to non-sponsors,
Mhm.
you certainly wouldn't want to sell those tickets for cheaper than what our sponsors will be buying extra tickets for. I wouldn't think.
I thought you were not gonna make extra tickets. We think we were talking about maybe not allowing extra ticket purchases.
No, I
necessarily at the
think-
same rate.
I think we wanna sell extra tickets to the top 2 tiers still. And I would say that we would want to sell those tickets, maybe extra tickets, we could say 125. For extra tickets for them, maybe, or like, I know we used to do 100, but I think we could say 125 per extra ticket. And then we sell the like the individual tickets where you don't get any of the, you know, advertisement. It's just an individual ticket for 150 or 160, something
Yeah.
like that.
So yeah, what, now you got me wondering, you got 50, 30, 14, 4. And then 10 and 2, but what are the extra tickets selling for? And
I don't know, what I mean, I would say, I think I said 150, but
150 to the public, but 125 in the top 2 tiers.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
so gold and platinum can buy them for
$1.25.
125.
I like that, because then they still feel exclusive. I get it cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the general public can buy them for
150.
150. And then do we have an app that we want to try to do?
Just sell it, man.
I mean, once we get to 600, right, we
Yeah.
shut it down.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the max. Well, I mean, we're trying not to be at 600,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, because only with our. Never mind. Cut that off. Nope, not gonna say it.
I'm assuming we're gonna have to give like the caterer a number in advance, you know? whatever.
Yeah, once it gets closer, we give them a number. I mean, we give them an estimate based on the 600. But then once it gets closer, we dial it in. Like with Trace Atkins, the number ended up being like 800.
Yeah.
And they had to pay it and put it extra, that's, we had to make it.
Was it bad that it was more, or was that good, because we made more money?
No, it was,
Awesome. It really was
We had
awesome.
hot dogs.
But it was.
It was
not good.
very,
It was too full. It was,
Yeah.
everything was oversold, it was too full. Our general admission was fine.
and our alcohol sale number was really low for how much was there. Like,
Yeah.
it was like,
and it's hard because yes, we wanna get as many sold, and I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat, like can't sit much longer, but. You get the businesses that maybe have, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but like. Older people who own the businesses that want to be able to go in and experience that, and if you're filling it to the max capacity. They aren't actually able to enjoy
Yeah.
what they have paid for, what they have worked for to be able to pay for it.
Yeah.
So,
there's a lot of businesses in our community that have never even been engaged to ask if they want this one. So just by hitting that program a little bit differently, we may have no problems on it.
Yeah.
Into all people.
okay,
So you have a motion.
someone,
Giving somebody
Okay,
like this.
I make a motion that we change our VIP sponsorship level tickets, platinum being 50 sold with only 10 VIP parking passes, the option of 125 per ticket in addition, for gold level to be 30 instead of 50. And that option of extra tickets to be a 125, silver to be dropped to 14 tickets sold, or 14 tickets, and then bronze being 4, with the addition of the public being able to purchase VIP tickets for $150. Good luck on writing that.
It's all recorded.
It's recorded.
I've got a note.
Adding in parking. Well then,
All right, do we have a second?
a second.
Okay, all in favor?
I-
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, last but not least, we got those done. Let's go over any last minute things.
I think for me.
Nothing new. I have things, even though I'm one on my edge of the seat, can't sit still and needs to leave. And where did they go? Okay, so really quickly, just to put this thought in your head, I know we are talking about it, I know it's hard, and I know it's a pain in the butt, but I do not believe Longview is going to be putting on their rodeo that they have for years. They cannot seem to get a committee going. They're only going to be putting on their junior rodeo the weekend after the fact, which is our weekend that happens to be
Longview or Long
auction.
Beach?
Long Beach, sorry. I totally wrote Longview.
Long Beach isn't doing their rodeo.
I do not think they are not on the thing.
no.
They do not have I just talked to Terry. They don't have a committee. I can get committee here in like 3.2 seconds to make something happen here if we can get it figured out.
Okay,
So that's what we need to think about, is if we want to do like a Thursday, Friday of the fair, or if we want to do a Friday, Saturday and do it after auction and do kind of a thing to get people the heck over there instead of here. I guarantee you, I can get a group of committee people to get it done and make it happen, that knows the stock, that knows the contractors, that knows all of the stuff that needs to happen. Terry has offered to give me all of her information that she has carried on for Long Beach if they do not do it, which again, they're not on the circuit. They're not out there right now saying that, you know, they're going to be doing it, which they've already really put out the list. So we can make it happen if we can make it happen. So that's something that we need to think about if we're willing to do it, if we want to do it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome.
Does it have to be as part of the fair?
I think it would be
Help the fair.
really, really helpful for the fair.
Draw people to the fair.
I think it would be huge. I think people are gonna be looking for it.
That's your
You're-
Saturday night event.
You're gonna have a crap ton. And I tell you, there's probably 200 to 250 junior rodeo contestants across the river. Them and all their families will be here Saturday night. I guarantee you.
They'll help too.
It would be huge. So
So, were you talking, and I'm just trying to follow along, were you talking full rodeo or were you talking junior rodeo?
I'm talking full rodeo. You don't want to do junior rodeo or competing with them, but all the junior rodeo families that are across the river will come. I like guaranteed that place is packed. It's the biggest one in our whole association.
Because they're there.
It's always the same weekend. I finish up here and the next day, my kid does all of his events the next day. And it's packed, like there's no getting in there. So
So we'll be talking about in the lower field.
if we can make it happen, I know there's a ton of people that are willing to make it happen. So the more we can get that done, the better. The second thing I want to throw out there is just because I know weekends are booking up. I did talk to Dusty how he would be willing to do 2 days. So when that time comes, we need to maybe look at doing 2 days in November for that rodeo as well. The other one is the middle school in Seaside just did a bunch of painting in their hallways, like murals. And it made me think about maybe seeing if Bren Hillstock would want to do murals in our bathrooms. I think would be really cool because I know we've talked about painting them, but I bet she would be more than happy to do something. And she does amazing work. And I think it would be so cool to incorporate those in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. There we go.
And just to circle around, like, is this something that we wanna like? With Mallory's, leeway to work with to like do some kind of recon Like, what's it gonna cost to have a rodeo, the faded rodeo operator, and we're gonna have to do some. Like, get some information from whomever that is on what they need as far as site work.
Yeah,
How big of the dimensions do they need, what types of materials do we gotta bring in, like, how do we bring a grass field to a senior rodeo ground?
So what time did the auction get over last year?
6:30?
it was, yeah, it was early, yeah.
Like 6.
It was like 6:30.
That's enough time for a rodeo? I don't know anything about. Rodeo.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
dark until like what, 9:30 or something?
Yeah.
9 o'clock maybe?
Yeah,
10 o'clock, like, by the time the concert ends, like right at 10. If it's like still light, and then by the time you get to your car, it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like right at 10.
Yeah, so if it starts at 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
Got lights, throw lights down
Yep.
there. Like, I think it'd be perfect.
So if you guys are, if that's something everyone here is wanting to make happen, it's gonna be a lot of work, but I know a ton of people that are willing to help.
And I think. This is just me thinking out loud here, somebody that has no clue what it's actually gonna take. But figuring out some ballpark costs. And we're going from there, like, it's hard to make a decision at this point until you know, is this like
And I can-
$80,000?
And I can tell you one thing, I can get sponsors for that.
Yes.
Do it.
And the reason it's the same weekend as the fair. Is that like I don't know if there's an advantage or disadvantage for it to be as part of the fair or not, since. I'm not sure that that's my question. Is there?
The advantage of having it at the fair is our attendance for the fair is so incredibly low, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna say pathetic, that this is going to be an opportunity to get people to our fair.
Yeah.
They're gonna come, they're gonna be here, they're gonna walk around before they go get their seats.
Yeah.
They're gonna check things out. I mean, buy food, yeah,
It should help the vendors a lot.
yeah,
I'm just curious.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
and plus
it's-
too, it's
We need more
it's
than the.
been a tradition over there for years, that same
Years.
weekend, right? And so if we get that chance to grab onto that and.
So their pro show has always been the weekend before our fair. And then their junior rodeo has always fallen on our fair.
Yeah.
So we would be moving the pro show is what they call it, a week later. And so it would line up with their junior rodeo, but the junior rodeo people come a week ahead
Oh, nice.
just to go to that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, to get riders here to book people to come in and do it, I mean, they're looking for things that weekend to do, and so.
It's more typical for a fair to have a rodeo.
Right.
Almost all fairs are fairs and rodeos. There's
Yep.
a few of them that don't have a rodeo.
And is there gonna be any conflict with the facilities? For the additional animals coming in?
All stock would be down there.
Oh, they just.
Yeah, we'd have, they all tie to their trailers,
Okay, good.
we'd have chutes out there and,
We'll have all those stalls from Barn C. They could be set up down there and could be used.
yep,
Um,
which they
One
don't.
question
they
will be
don't-
how much staff time do we need when we're, on Friday when we're trying to do a concert? How much do we have to be down there helping that as well? But in theory, all of that work can be done 2 weeks before the fair. It doesn't even have to be done the day before. The other question though too is the bleachers, because the bleachers are all in there for the arena, for the auction. Can we work with less bleachers in there? I don't know. Has it always been all 3 sets of bleachers in there for the auction? I feel like photos I've seen, they had the bleachers sitting out here for the fair.
I think that's all doable stuff. I think we can work with all that.
Weren't back, I'm trying to remember, didn't it used to be 2 sets of bleachers in there? Just one on each side?
Yeah, there's just one on each side, yep, but now they're too full,
Okay,
yeah, they don't have the capacity for that anymore, so.
so this wouldn't affect their junior rodeo? You said the junior rodeo folks would wanna come to the senior rodeo.
Oh, yeah, because the junior rodeo is all during the day.
Oh,
We,
okay, I see.
we get done with junior rodeo by
Gotcha.
like 4 o'clock.
Okay, I was
Like,
gonna
we
say, that doesn't really
started,
make sense. You're saying these people
there's,
come from the junior rodeo. on
there's
the
so
same
many
day.
kids, they start at almost 7 o'clock in the morning,
Okay, gotcha.
so. Okay, that's all I
Or this
had.
morning.
Nothing for me.
Okay,
Okay.
No, great idea.
okay, oh my goodness, I had one other thing, but I can't remember what it is, so I'll go back to it later.
You know, something.
I said the murals, oh, pictures, Claire said she will do pictures, so next meeting, if everyone could be here earlier, that would be fantastic. So I'll send it, we can send that out when that time comes, but she said she'd be happy to do them for us.
And we could set up, try to set something up.
She just said outside, she said we should have enough light, that it would be the not the light better, so. Okay, and adjourn, yeah, 7:35, okay. Go on, guys. Did the now see it? Okay. I can't excited. It's not, I am not a person that can sit still.
My bad.
Really? Okay. Did the